Welcome to another Verbeling class. Tonight's class is a discussion. Are socialist nations happier? We'll talk about what socialism is, social programs, and we'll debate whether socialist nations are happier. We'll get started shortly. There you are.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know why it happens.
it is strange.
Yeah, it is. When I'm starting a class, I can't just restart my browser because what happens, sometimes the class can be canceled and I don't want to risk that. It's different when we're doing a session.
And also, if I close my browser, then it might not be possible for me to get in again. Somebody else could have taken my seat.
I don't know. Usually the first minute or two you're safe because students might be still in another class. But if you paid for a session, I don't think it works that way. I think if you paid, you get your spot.
I see.
At least that's what I'd expect. If I pay for a class, I expect to have my spot reserved.
Yeah.
So we're talking about socialism today. Do you know anything about socialism, Niels?
Yes, I do. When I was young, I was a very big. I was a favor of socialism. I'm not anymore. You want to know
when did you start becoming?
When you are young, you have a heart, and then you will be socialist. And when you are elder, you are more sensible. So you will.
See, that's funny. When I was younger, I was very much a capitalist. My body was strong, my mind was quick. Capitalism made more sense to me. But as I get older, I'm becoming more liberal. You know, I live next to the United States, so if you want to see capitalism, sometimes it can be quite raw, but not as raw as capitalism in China. I think the Chinese are the most capitalist country in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Yeah. Just a little bit of small talk as everybody arrives. Raphael, good to see you again, sir. Good to see you smiling.
Good to see you as well, Simon. Thanks. And what about you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm a little tired because I'm hungry.
Really?
Yes. See, today, I got to show you something here. Look at all the cycling I did.
Wow.
651 calories from cycling.
Maybe you can eat a half sandwich.
I do. I need a very big sandwich. So if I seem like I'm doing this, it's because I'm hungry. So welcome. And we've got Wellington. I haven't seen Wellington in a while. Wellington, good to see you back.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good too. Yeah, sometimes it's a little, our schedule is different, but now I'm here.
Well, what I've been thinking of doing, I usually try to pick a 5 o'clock class because my European friends can attend, like Niels. It's very late where he is. But on the other hand, you know, if I do it too late, we can't get anybody. But at the same point, I'm wondering if this class was an hour or two later because I can do classes at this time. I can also do classes a little later. Is this more convenient for you, Raphael and Wellington, or would a class a little later be more convenient?
At least for
me,
no
a little later is more convenient.
Okay, and Raphael?
At least for me, there's no problem about the time, so I don't have problems. Sooner or later, it's the same for me.
Okay, well, maybe I'll try I'll keep them mostly at this time, but I'll try one or two later and see what happens. Because I'm not a
Thank
full-time teacher, if I don't
you.
get a full class, I can't pick my times where I want because there's another teacher teaching right now. So if I can keep a full class, then they don't care. You know, I can book whenever I want. So I book a class, wait for it to fill, book another class, wait for it to fill, book another class. That's how I do it. So if you're looking to see when my classes are, always take a look 1 or 2 days ahead because you know what, I could have a class on Thursday now or even Friday. I'll book one tomorrow. I don't book too far ahead. All right, gentlemen, we're going to have an exciting class today. It's almost like a debate. We're going to talk about socialism. And the discussion is all about the topic, are socialist nations happiest? Are they the happiest? So let's first of all find out what socialism means. Raphael, what does socialism mean to you?
I believe this is a kind of way of government in which people. Sorry, I have to close the window. Is a means of government which I think the wealth it's more.
Sorry, I muted you by mistake. What's going on? My screen's acting funny. Raphael, I've accidentally muted you. Sorry. So it's a form of government.
Could you skip me this time? I have to close the window because it's still audio out there.
Perfect. Wellington, Raphael said it's a form of government. What else can you tell me?
Socialism is, for me, is a government that said they tell they act for the people, but these actions is based on distribute benefits for the people, and in some way it's not they not see only the capital. Their actions benefits the people, but in majority the poor people. I think this is a summary, but we know that this not is functional in reality, because we had in this we have some countries that in the past they were based on this socialism, but some people, the heads, they had benefits that the people, the majority of the people, didn't
Okay,
have.
so let me stop you there. I want to give you
Others,
guys a dictionary definition of socialism. To me, this sounds more
okay.
like communism, but here goes. A political and economic theory of social organization that advocates the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole, which can mean the government. The community as a whole is the government, essentially. Okay, so you still have your rights and freedoms. You don't necessarily lose those rights and freedoms, but essentially, a big part of, well, I would say a big part of your economy necessarily, but for example, healthcare. If you don't have to pay to see a doctor, and it's covered through your taxes, that means you have socialized medicine. that might be the only social program you have. In some countries, there are many, many more programs. So what I want to do, I want to talk to Raphael this time because you didn't have a chance to speak. Do you think socialism is a good thing, Raphael? Do you think nations that embrace socialism are happier? Okay, so I don't know what's happening with Raphael there. Wellington, are nations that
I,
embrace socialism happier?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Here in Brazil, we have some actions based on socialism, where the government distribute money and, yeah, and other benefits for the poor people, and in some way, these people are happy. The
Okay.
others, the other not, because someone ha, someone has to pay this discount, the price for for other receive some that benefit.
Okay.
So it's I'm not sure.
All right, let's go to somebody who knows a bit more about socialism. Uh, there's a reason why I was kind of saving you till last, Niels. Niels, tell us a bit more about socialism. Again, the question was, are socialist nations happier?
Well, it depends on how they are organized. In the idea, you will receive what you need, and you're supposed to work as much as you can. And that'll work if you have a very small society, say a village, where everybody know each other. Then it will work quite well. I know here in Denmark there's a few places where a group of people, say 100, 200 people, have got together, and they are living in a group of houses, and they are having a firm producing food and agriculture stuff, and they will just share what they earn, and that is working quite well. But when it is a matter of a whole society, then it tends to give problems because people will be very happy to receive what they need, but when it comes to work as much as you can, that can be a problem. Here in Denmark, we have very high social welfare and social benefits, and if you are a low-paid worker, you can just nearly get as much in social welfare as you can get just by working. And therefore, there will be quite a lot of people who are not working as much as they should. We are not a socialist country, really. It is sort of mixed because we have healthcare is completely free, education is completely free, and that is the way the society is organized is based on that it is the society who will provide for the roads and all that. But
Okay.
we pay quite very high income taxes, so we can pay for the social welfare and for the education and for the health care for people. Older people will.
Well, let's get to that in a minute, Niels. I want to save that bit of information. Let's not talk about the costs yet,
Yeah.
because I know, because you live there, and I live in a socialist country too, but we're different in the level of socialization. Raphael, can we hear you? Are you there?
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay, good. So would you rather live in a socialist nation or a capitalist nation? Are socialist nations happier?
I don't think they are happier. I believe I believe that population they must of course, because sorry, let me from my answer. I believe I have about socialism, socialist society. I believe that they would only be happier if there are masses, there are social classes in which can afford their expenses, because as everyone wants to, since if you don't have to work to get, if you receive a monthly payment by government, in which there is a real there's a real wealth distribution. The resources are equally distributed to the people. Of course, there are strong reasons to these people be happy. You know, can afford the happiness of these people. But unfortunately, this is not. This is a word. I believe it's a utopic point of way of seeing things, because I think we must. Unfortunately, capitalism is necessary according to my point of view, because well, there are there must be people which can earn the riches, and they can. There's something was that is, to summarize, someone has to work. You know, someone has to work, and someone has to to carry on with the activities in order to provide riches, to provide
Well, how about this?
wealth for the country.
Why don't I stay at home and you three can work? Does that sound good? Or the four of you can work so I can stay at home?
It depends. Are you injured? Are you available to work or no? You just
My
because
shoulder
of your
hurts.
will.
I got a sore shoulder. Ow.
Well,
Ow.
it depends on
It hurts.
your injury. It depends on your injury. If you are,
Okay,
I
let me
believe this
stop
is
you.
one of the biggest problems. Okay.
We'll
Sorry.
come back to you, but I don't want to give you guys more than 2 minutes of time, or someone's going to be upset because they didn't get enough talk time. I had one student really upset last class because she didn't get enough talk time. All right, Alexander, we haven't heard from you. Then we're going to go to Niels. Alexander, you live in a former communist nation. What do you think about socialism? Do you think the Soviet Union was a happier place and a better place than Russia?
Uh,
Because we're talking
yeah,
about
so,
are socialist nations happier, and you don't get any more socialist than a communist state.
so it's a difficult question to answer. So I think I live in a democracy, and speaking about socialism, I've never been to countries where it's going on, and I cannot say without try this.
I'm sorry, what country are you from?
From Russia.
Right. Okay, so you're probably not old enough to remember when it was a communist country.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but I guess I was about 5 or 6 years at that time.
Ah, you didn't have to worry about work at that age.
Yes.
Well, so sorry to interrupt then. So what do you think? Do you think socialist nations are happier nations, or do you think capitalism is the way to go?
I think that socialism is very great because you have the freedom, you can say whatever you want, you can do whatever you want, you can develop as you want. But speaking about others, they kind of can stop you when you are starting some activity, and it's one of the disadvantage of others. How let it go? Ways, others ways, or let it be ways. And I'd like to live I'd like to try live in socialism to you know to find out this happiness, how is it happy for me or not, whether it is happy for me or not.
Okay, that's very good. Before I go to Niels, I want to put some wood on the fire, so to speak. So as I mentioned, I live in a socialist country, not as socialist as Denmark, but in Canada we have socialized medicine. If I need to go to the doctor, I don't have to pay a thing. I don't have to pay to go to a hospital. If I become unemployed, the government will pay me a certain amount of money for up to a year. It's nowhere near what I made when I was working, but it helps pay the bills. If I can't get a job after a year and I don't have any money, they'll give me something called welfare. Again, it's not a lot of money, but it's something designed to help, but not to live off of. All my roads are paved and managed by the government. Police and military is handled by the government. What else? I'm trying to look outside to think of what other. So the airports, that's all regulated by the government. Air travel is regulated by the government. So somewhat socialist. In some areas we're very social, in other areas not at all. So I think it's great not have to worry about, ow, my shoulder, and wondering if I can eat this month or go to a doctor. Which is it? So Niels, who lives in a country that by many, if you look at the articles that I posted for you guys to read, it's the most socialist country in the world with the highest tax burden in the world. So whether you're in a capitalist country or socialist country, I don't know if one has more freedoms of speech or not, but Niels, why don't you tell us a bit more about what it's like in your socialist country and why you like it or don't like it?
I will not say that Denmark is a socialist country. We are organized in the same way as Canada, that healthcare is completely free, education is completely free. If you are good enough to go to university and you will be, and you can go there, you should not pay for it. You will get a grant as a student, which is not very high, but you can live on it in a way. And if you are old and do not work anymore, you will receive a pension from the state. And that is paid for by our income taxes, which are quite high, and also all our indirect taxes. VAT, we have 25%. So when you buy a pound of meat, 1/5 of the price will just be VAT, and there will be heavy taxes and quite a lot of stuff. But apart from that, we are more like a capitalistic country. You can start your own business just as you want to. You do not have to be allowed to do it. You can do whatever you want. We're a completely free, organized system. So, and I think that's the way you have to make a society which it should be a nice place to live, a mixture between capitalism and socialism. So all the basic needs you do not have to worry about. You do not have to worry about health care, for example, or will you be able to get food and accommodation when you get old. That you do have to have a basic standard of living paid by the government. Our problem is that the social welfare sometimes can be considered too high. So for some people, it's not worthwhile really to work. And we are discussing that quite a lot.
And we're going to talk about that in a bit more detail. One thing I want to talk about, because even in North America, people get confused. They'll say, we're not socialists. Like when I was in college, somebody called me a socialist, and I said, I'm not a socialist. And quite often when we talk about a socialist country, we don't necessarily mean that every single means is managed or regulated by the government. It might just mean that a majority of the programs are managed. So when it talks about the businesses and having, you can start your own business, yes, we can do that in Canada, the United States, Australia, Germany, Denmark. However, when you look at medicine, for example, if you don't pay for it and it's covered by the government or the community as a whole, that is considered socialized medicine, because the medicine itself is governed or regulated or paid for by the government. So, certainly Niels would not consider him be living in a socialist country, but if you talk to an American, yeah, they would consider Denmark a socialist country. It doesn't mean that you can't have businesses. Now, if you look at economic theory, then yeah, they're saying that at the heart you can have a country that is completely socialized, which is what communism is designed to be. It's everything is supposed to be managed by the government. But let me ask you this then. Assuming I have my own business and I'm able to work for whatever company I work for, but 80% of my income goes in taxes. If 80% goes to taxes, does that become a socialist country? Wellington, what do you think?
Here we pay about 25% of our incomes to the government.
Okay, so
not
definitely not
8%,
socialist.
Pay 20.
No, but the question was,
yes,
if you paid 80%, would you consider that to be a socialist government, a socialist country?
Like I said, Simon, someone must pay must pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
It's not free. Nothing, anything is free. Nothing is free.
Nothing is free. Nothing. That's true.
Someone
we gotta work.
Must pay. Yeah. Someone, if here we have some healthcare, a kind of healthcare free, but the quality is poor. But Brazil is not socialist.
Mm-hmm.
Brazil is a mixture. Now I can't say that Brazil is socialist. If the investors go out, the Brazil, the economy here will be very bad.
Okay.
In relation to your question, I think not. I think not. It's not socialist. It's a mix. It's a mix. Like
most countries are, yeah.
Countries.
Okay, let me ask Raphael the same question. Raphael, if you had to pay 80% tax on purchase of goods or 80% tax in total to the government, would you consider yourself living in a socialist nation?
I'd rather define communism because 80% is almost all my revenue. It's invested to the government. It's a kind of.
It is.
I believe it's worse than socialism. It's communism itself.
Well, what about 70%?
70, still the same. 70%.
Yeah, still, yeah.
It's not absurd for me.
I pay 55%.
55.
Yeah, maybe more. I'm not sure, but I pay. Let's see. I think I might pay 40% federal tax, or maybe that's 35. Then I pay maybe 15% provincial tax. maybe 5% municipal, and then anything I buy after that I pay 13% sales tax.
A lot of taxes, huh?
Hey, socialism, and I'm not getting everything free. I don't think those numbers are quite correct, but I know it's around 55 to 60%. So before I go to Niels, because I know his numbers will be the highest, and Niels, while you're listening, I want you to calculate that by the time you buy, let's say, a phone, how much tax, if you include all income tax and sales tax, would you have paid? So let's go to Alexander. Well, hold on. I want to go to Alexander first.
Yeah.
Because I know you have the highest tax rate, so I want to save that surprise till last. Alexander, if you were to pay 80% in taxes, would you consider yourself in a socialist country?
In my opinion, no, I wouldn't consider myself to call, socialism, because it looks like communism, because all of my income goes to the government. Yeah, so.
Okay, short answer. Now, I want to give you more time to speak too, because I try to give each of you guys about 2 minutes. So, good
Actually,
answer.
I'm not
what
good
do you think
at
the cutoff is?
cutoff.
Yeah, what do you think is a fair tax rate to pay, and what do you expect to get for that tax rate?
Actually, in Russia, 13% of tax is considered to be normal, but I don't know how it will be in the future, because now there is kind of a crisis, and maybe in the near future the taxes will increase. So, speaking about 80%, I wouldn't say that our country will have such big sales, but I think 13 it's normal. And actually, I also know that in some countries there are taxes lower than 13, lower even than 13.
Now, when you say that, are you talking sales tax, or are you talking income tax, or both?
Income taxes. I'm talking about income taxes.
Wow! I'm going to move to Russia. Although no, it's too cold. It's just as bad as Canada. So, wow. Okay, I'm going to go to Niels now. Niels, you just heard, in Russia, resource-rich Russia, although oil is low right now, but it's going back up, income tax is 13%. Niels, if you were to buy a phone, by the time you paid, how much of that phone would be taxes? So let's say $1,000 phone, how much of that would you have to pay in taxes?
Well, only you have to pay VAT, so that's sales tax. That'll be 1/5 of the price for the phone will be sales tax. But
25%?
25% is added to the price, and that means that when I pay the price for the phone, 1/5 of the value of the phone will be VAT.
I disagree, and here's why. Okay, so now,
but you could also say,
you get paid, right? When you get paid, you have to pay taxes, right?
yes. I have not calculated that. So if I say if I earn £100, say, to use English money, then the last pound I earn will be taxed with 55%. But in average, I will pay about 40% of my income in direct tax. 40%.
Okay, so 40% income in direct tax. So
in direct tax, yes. And people who do not earn as much will pay much less. And then,
right, so then that remaining income, you're looking at 65%, right? So it's 40 plus 25 to buy the phone.
Yes.
Do you want to move to Russia?
No, I would not, because
too cold?
still we have a better standard of living here than in Russia, and I don't think that it is not the percentage you are paying in income tax which determines if you are living in a socialist country or not. It is certainly the way the country is organized which will determine if the country is socialistic or not. In
Very
US,
good. See, I was using the argument that it's based on taxation, but it's not all based on taxation, is it?
no, it's not. So we pay quite high income tax, but we do not live in a socialistic country, I would say. And our health system is quite well organized. I think we are only, as a country, we are only paying half as much as the Americans are paying for their health system, which is completely capitalistic. So the American doctors earn much more than the Danish doctors. And the way they have organized their health system means that it is a very expensive system to run.
Yes.
This system where the Danish society will pay for healthcare for everybody for free, and the amount of money which is used for healthcare in Denmark per person is, I've heard, only half of what it is in US, and possibly also, I think it might be the same as in Canada. And our system works quite well, and we're quite happy about it. So that is a way to saying that sometimes capitalistic systems will work worse than a system where you organize it as we have done.
All right. Thank you very much, Niels. Some very, very good points there. Wellington, back to you. So Wellington, Niels just said, well, it doesn't matter how much you pay in taxes. That has nothing to do with whether you live in a socialist country or not. Every country faces certain challenges. If I was to give you the choice and say, let's say I was the leader of your country, and I said, okay, I'm going to raise taxes by 5%. However, I'm going to make medicine free for everybody, all services. Or B, I'll make all dental services free. Or C, I'll make all child care services and daycare free. Now, when I say free, well, I'm raising your taxes by 5%, and we're going to provide high-quality care. What would you prefer, Wellington?
The option A is with high quality, high quality.
Yeah, the quality, obviously, it would have to be a really good quality system, right? So there's no wait times. If you have to go to the hospital, they can see you right away. There are specialists.
Yeah.
There's well-trained doctors. You get the same care as anybody who's wealthy.
Yeah. Yeah. If the service is with quality, okay, for me, I prefer. But who will control this? Who will control the money that I will pay for the government? Because in some countries like here, we pay a lot of money. Like I said, most of us pay 25%, and the service is poor. I think the question is not how much I pay. I think the question, the point is dictatorship, or we are free to choose what you want. Okay, I must pay 50% or whatever, but okay, I must choose it, or I can choose the other. Choose the other, and or I be free or not. I think the question is this.
Well, I think
It's
the
complicated.
real
It's
answer
complicated,
is
but
you're more concerned about waste and corruption, right? Is the money being looked after?
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Very good. Thank you very
because
much.
this is
I want to
yeah,
turn
this
to.
is our life here.
No, look, I understand. I'll before class ends, I'll give you a bit of commentary of my thoughts and what it's like here. But we all live in different countries with different challenges and different leaders. Raphael, also from Brazil.
Yeah.
Um, Wellington brought up the point of waste and corruption, and the end result is the same. You have money going into the system and it's not being managed properly. Um, how do we solve the problem of waste and corruption in any government system?
Well, unfortunately, the corruption problem here it's something which lasts since the beginning of the country. Some people say it's already in DNA of the policy, politicians being corrupt because our constitution. I think there's a lot of gaps in the constitution which doesn't make them punished. It doesn't. Unfortunately, the punishments here are so slight. There are no strong punish, and uh, what else? Yes, I agree with Wellington's thoughts about the money deviation. We have a unfortunately we pay lots of taxes. I disagree a little bit of 25%. I think it's more than 40 or 45% because we paid lots of taxes. But I don't know. I'm not an expert in the amount of tax we pay. But I agree with the idea with if this money will be well applied into benefits of population, it's worth to increase the taxes. But unfortunately, it's not what we see daily here.
Okay, that's a good point. So seems like you pay as much in taxes as I do, Raphael.
Kind of.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Alexander, so obviously you have a very, very low tax rate, which is terrific. Um, so we're talking about waste and corruption, and which do you think is the biggest challenge for any sort of government, whether it's trying to implement a socialized medicine, or it's, I guess what I'm talking about is a word called sustainability. We can have a great government, great leaders, we can have the best social programs and low taxes. But as decades go by, as time passes, waste enters the system and there's a potential for corruption. How can governments manage money coming in to prevent waste or corruption or reduce the risk of waste and corruption?
I think they can control them. Just a sec. I
It's a
need
tough
to
question,
think
isn't
for.
it?
Oh, very.
And while you're thinking, so what I'm trying to get at, what can governments do to reduce the risk of waste? Can they set up independent organizations to monitor coming in? Can they set up independent organizations to audit? I don't know. I just pasted a link to some corruption going on in here in Canada. I don't know the answer to this, but
So, from my standpoint, I think only one way to overcome this problem, I mean corruption, maybe, is to to, how does it say, to increase the salaries for average people. I mean, or not for average, for everyone. And maybe in that case, everyone will be happy. They won't have a thought about, take corruption. I'm sorry,
So
take
pay people a fair rate.
yeah, fair rate, and maybe in this case, they won't have a thought about bribing.
Okay, that's potentially an option. It's a tough question. I personally think the longer a country exists, the greater the chance that corruption will occur. Look at every major nation state or empire. They've all fallen because you can't sustain. Things are going great. Everybody's happy. Yay! And then something happens. The whole world experienced a major downturn around 2008, 2007. Russia experienced a major downfall in the early 90s. The whole world experienced a massive depression in the 1930s, followed by a major war. I mean, these things always happen. I don't know if there is a solution. But let me ask you this, Alexander, because you didn't get a chance to speak too much. Do you think that socialist nations are happier, though? We've talked a lot, and I'm wondering if you've changed your mind.
It's hard to say because I haven't lived in socialism, and I lived only in democracy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think sometimes some changes are necessary to compare something in your life, and by having some choices, you can match what you really want. You can decide where you want to go and what is the better for you, only by having an experience in some field. And speaking of this, living in socialism, because everyone can can speak about it, can show their happiness, how it's great. But when you came to this place or this country, you don't see, or you cannot find yourself. You cannot get used to live in this country. I think it depends on people's nature, on individuals.
That's a good point. Thank you. Niels, back to you. So we're kind of getting to the end of class. We're kind of summing things up. You've heard different students from different countries. If you could, let's say you were able to change the system you have in Denmark, what would you change?
I think I would make it the welfare system. I would change a bit so it would be there should be a greater incentive to get work instead of just living on social welfare. I think that really would be the only thing we should change, and we should try to make the public systems more efficient. We do not have any corruption at all in Denmark, but there will be quite a lot of waste in the public systems where people, because say some 5 years ago they had to make a special office for attending some problems, and then when the problems disappears, then the office might go on longer time than needed. That kind of situation is quite easy to find, I suppose. So all in all, I think we could save quite a bit if we were more efficient in the public system, and if we changed a bit on our welfare system. The Swedes do not pay as high income tax as we are at the moment. They have succeeded to lower their income because they have not say, if you are unemployed in Sweden, you'll not get as much money as you will in Denmark, for example.
Okay. Thank you. Wellington, so I know you talked about corruption and poor service, but if you were able to take control of Brazil's government and do all this peacefully, what would you change?
The socialism, of course, the socialism, because I think is good for all, and but a lot of people, the people that are in the people that are in the power now, you'll be very angry, very angry with this. But I chose the socialism because, like yesterday, I was talking about with my coworkers about the racism here in Brazil, about the other problems, and we, unfortunately, the people don't have the same opportunities. And I think with the socialism, the people maybe perhaps can be the same opportunities to study, to learn, to improve their lives, to bring goods for the state, for the society, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. Raphael, what would you do differently?
I agree with some concepts of socialism, as long as it is established correctly, it's correctly issued to society. I believe society must learn how to handle it, how to deal with its socialism. It's not something which should be imposed by governments and our leaders, but should be taken as a whole by everyone. I disagree a little bit of the. Unfortunately, we have some public campaigns here in which public to provide people to some wealth distribution programs here, but unfortunately they are just used with political purposes. And unfortunately there are several people here. I think this problem is. I think Denmark has a similar problem, since you explained a little bit, because there are several people who are able to work and they are able to handle the job market, but unfortunately they receive this monthly payment by governments, and they are not interested in having a job and provide their own sustainable. So I believe I agree with that. Socialism is a great, since I mentioned before, I believe that socialism is a great means of government, but it should be well studied prior to be issued.
Implemented.
Yes.
Good point. So I haven't talked as much because I'm trying to get you guys to speak, but I live in a country that has many socialized programs. So, for example, probably like your countries, I don't have to take care of my garbage. The town manages that. I pay a tax, and they take away the recycling, they take away the garbage, they take away mattresses, fridges, they take away toxic chemicals and batteries, and they take care of all of that. I don't have to worry about it. They shovel my streets with snow, or sorry, they shovel my streets so I don't have to worry about snow removal. I can get to work in the winter. They provide security through military defense and police forces. They help regulate an economy so that way companies can't get too big and then dictate wages to people or dictate working conditions and have really bad working conditions. So there's a minimum wage, there's maximum working hours. There's all sorts of things like this that you get. But as both Raphael and Wellington have mentioned, yes, you can pay a lot of money in taxes, have very few social programs, have very poor social programs because you have so much corruption or leakage in the system. I think we all have opportunities to improve our system. I think here the biggest concern we have is debt. We're about ready to balance the budget one more time, the first time since 2007. We still have a large national debt of, who knows, 600 plus or $700 billion. A lot of money. Niels, what is your national debt?
Well, I'm not quite sure, but I think it would be about 50% of the BNP or
GNP?
6% the brutto national product.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think at the moment the state in income tax and indirect taxes, the state will get from the citizen about $1 billion, 1,000 million, or 1,000 billion kroner per year, and I think that will be more or less the same as the Danish state will owe to foreign
Okay.
investments. I think. I'm not
Let's
quite
see
sure,
what it's
but
like in Brazil.
it's not a problem. Our debt is not a problem really.
Well, everybody always says that until it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Raphael, what's your level in Brazil?
Something around 500 billion.
500 billion. And of course, Wellington, you're going to agree because you're also from Brazil, right? It's around
Sorry,
500 billion. What's the national debt in your country?
I don't know, but let me see. It's
Okay.
big, but I don't know how much. I don't know. And unfortunately, the numbers here are all the time it change. All the time are some number is change. Unfortunately.
Well, that's the nature of it. Okay, we've got a couple of minutes left. 2 to be exact. I want to tell you about my class tomorrow at the same time. I have 1 seat available. I hope everyone can make it. It's describe what you see. So since that class is almost full, I'm going to book a class for, let's see, tomorrow's Wednesday. I'm going to book a class for either Thursday or Friday. What do you guys think of a class where instead of describe what you see, I call it something like tell me about your country. So we take turns talking about our country. What is our country known for? What kind of things do we produce? What kind of sports are big? What we as a nation enjoy doing in our pastimes? What do you guys think? Do you think that would be an interesting class?
I think it would be quite interesting. Yes.
Okay.
Good idea.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, Raphael?
Yeah, me too.
Okay, that'll be my next class then. So I've got to look at my calendar to see what that looks like because somebody booked a half-an-hour session and those tend to get in the way sometimes. So let me see. On the 15th, I have a group class. All right, and on the 16th, I might be able to do it at 7 o'clock. Sorry, 7 o'clock my time, so that's It's 6 o'clock my time, so it'll be 1 hour later. Unfortunately, it would be too late for Niels, though.
And I'll be away for a couple of weeks now and not be
You
back to
shouldn't, Niels. You shouldn't say that on the internet.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, don't say that on the internet.
Uh,
All right. So, you know what? Then I'll go ahead. I think that's either Thursday or Friday. I'll book it. It's a little later, and it'll be describe your country. All right. Similar format here. I'll try to give everybody 2 to 3 minutes per round, and we'll talk about different things. We can talk about geography, government, sports, you name it. So time is up. I don't want to keep you guys from your next class. Thank you so much for showing up. We had a full class, but only 4 students showed up. I think that works great for you guys because obviously you get more talk time. So excellent. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.